You are in this space where you've already achieved a lot. You're at a foundational level of success. I'm here, I've made it, this is amazing, but I don't have time to go to other events that are going to help me grow.
Today's guest is Jody Shield. Now, she is a visionary entrepreneur, she's a business mentor, an energy expert, and a futurist.
Energetic efficiency is understanding how to discern the difference between these opportunities that are coming our way all the time. The mentality when you're a startup is like, just speak to everybody and then
say
it's
yes.
gonna just
say yes, say yes.
Point.
Yeah.
That's exhausting. We're doing this because we need to have a seismic shift on a global level when it comes to our relationship with money. To receive more money, we have to be willing to receive more of ourselves.
Welcome to the show, Jody. It's great to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here.
And welcome to Dubai, because you don't live here. You were just visiting us.
I know. I'm between here and Lisbon, Portugal, and the UK, and then I'm opening up something in Miami at the moment as well. So.
Nice. So I think on paper, that would actually look like the dream lifestyle. What is it like in reality?
It's interesting because I've been between the UK and Portugal for a relatively long time at this point.
Yeah.
And been very comfortable running a business primarily in the online space. And although you're putting yourself out there to thousands of people very often, I've done challenges for like 50,000 people, you're still hiding. You're hiding behind a laptop. You're hiding behind... a bit of a location, I think. You know, it can be very comfortable.
Interesting.
So coming here has been very transformational, very inspiring. It's like every location that I go to and travel to feels to me like what I call an activation. So it's like every location gives us information to level up. And based on our astrology, we can actually understand where in the world our power points are for different aspects of our life. So where to go to activate our business, where to go to activate our finances, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, Dubai is actually a fairly neutral space. My interpretation of that is it's like a gateway that's opening me up. And so, it's expanding me and stretching me beyond recognition. And I am so ready for it. But you know, when there's a little part of you that's like, eek, I'm ready, but I'm also being really stretched out my comfort zone right now.
That's when you know it's right, because there's that saying that when you're ready and it feels ready, you waited far too long.
100%.
But it's interesting you said about you feel like it's the gateway and this is what the activation feels like. But having worked for Emirates in a former life, that's what brought me to the Middle East 23 years ago. That was very much Emirates' tagline then. The gateway to the world. Based in Dubai, you can travel anywhere. But it's interesting you've put that into a body perspective and an opportunity perspective related to you. So I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
I've been starting episodes more recently with a little bit of a ChatGPT, because everything that we're going to talk about is about you, brand building, how you see yourself, how other people see you, and just for people to leave with really actionable tips, because that's very much my way of, I love learning like that. So I make content like that. And I did a bit of research. Obviously, I knew who you were before you came in. But ChatGPT, who I've affectionately renamed as Charles, has said Jody Shield started her professional life in the corporate world, for example, in advertising and business direction, before transitioning into entrepreneurship and coaching. Stylist plus 2 balance. Not sure what that is. Her website describes her as having guided over 100,000 women worldwide, blending energetic intelligence with business precision. She is the founder of the brand identity Visionary Entrepreneuress. I haven't heard that terminology before and I love it. And positions herself as a mentor, investor, working with female founders and high achievers. Our work focuses on women entrepreneurs, helping them unlock the greater vision, shift in mindset, reprogramming money blocks, and scaling their impact.
I love that. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Anything else you would add to that?
It pulls on old, but not necessarily old, because it feels weird calling it old, but it pulls on like old information. It brings it into the now. and it does a really good job of positioning me. Yeah, I like that. The only thing I'd add is I'm also a futurist.
Ooh, okay.
Because, and we can talk about this in
I'd
a
love
minute,
to, yeah.
because what I noticed about my energy about 10 years ago is that my perspective, it lives in the future. So it's as if I'm a business shaman in a weird kind of way. So if you and I are working together, I have the ability to look at you and to start to pull off data and information about what's coming for the future of your industry. And I see ideas and strategies intuitively, which still blows my mind to this day, even though it's very natural to me and is a bit weird for clients, especially if they're high performing women.
Yeah.
So that would be the secret spicy sauce of what I'm doing now to bring in, because it's the most exciting piece. And I'm starting a podcast as well called The Business Futurist.
I love that, but I also think that is what's the USP of your personal brand at the moment. And as your brand evolves, who you were, we talked about 2013 when you kind of first started business,
Yes.
was that right?
Oh my gosh.
To who you are now, that brand piece evolves. So it makes complete sense. So I thought I would start with one word and then we can go on from there. But what came up there, which I hadn't heard before, was energetic intelligence.
Yeah.
What does that mean to those that are listening? And I think that probably ties into maybe what you're excited about at the moment with the vision piece. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes. I love your question because it's something that I feel, and it's something that I've been learning to explain because it's kind of new, but it's also kind of old.
Okay.
Right? So my interpretation of energetic strategies, energetic precision, is essentially realizing that us as women, we actually are designed to be in business in a very different way to men. We're designed to do business in a different way to men. We're actually designed to, quotation mark, remember who we are. What does that mean? I feel like that means that we have this inherent presence, energetic power, intuition, insight, natural intelligence or inclination to just know what's right. And I believe that we're here to walk into a room with absolute magnetism and literally are able to, I just got chills down my body as I'm speaking, attract in precisely the right opportunities, the right networks, the right people, the right potential clients, etc., so that we're not wasting time, so that we're more energy efficient in the way that we work. And so I am energy efficiency all over. I'm not here to waste time because I don't have endless sources of energy to be able to network and speak to people 10, 12 hours a day. Like I did that in my corporate job. I'm not here to do that anymore. What I'm here to do is collapse the time it takes to receive those results. To give you an example, I was at a talk when I was last here a month ago. Beautiful woman, very successful founder. And she was amazing, but she was very, very in her energy of like hustle. Everything's hard. I had to really hustle to get this growth in the business. And then trying to get investment took me a year. Like all these doors kept closing on me. And I was looking at her going, you know, you're saying that it's going to take you a year to get investment. I could probably do it in 3 weeks. And I'm not kidding when I say that. And it's very controversial the way I'm coming about this. It's quite disruptive in a way. I've got to be very brave and bold in terms of how I'm showing up. And I've got to be willing to sort of like burn the rules of business in a way and actually show these women who are ready a new way. So that's a long-winded response in terms of answering the question, like what is energetic precision strategy? That to me is what it is.
How you would describe that. I love that. And there's the piece on the being energetically efficient. I love that.
Yes.
And I want to talk about maybe ways people can be more energetically efficient.
I'm going to grab my marker and
Good,
start
because so I
sketching.
don't. Yeah, I love that.
I love it.
So that was one of the things. But I think the other piece was, so how do we become more energetically efficient? But the other piece was how a lot of my clients lack confidence. So I loved how you described, and I felt very much that when you walk into the room, and I know when I speak to clients, they're like, they feel empowered, and then they go to walk in the room, and then they go, I can't do this. And they go and hide in a corner. So I think there's this, they want to showcase their personal brand. They know they have it in them. And then they lose the confidence piece. How, I guess, does that go with the energy efficiency?
No, this is a different conversation.
Okay, cool. So pick with one.
Let's park energy efficiency and then I'll come back and make some points here. So this is interesting. And what I'm describing to you, Kelly, is completely new, right? It's not new to me, but like it's new to most of the world.
Yeah.
But I totally know that you're going to get it. And if you don't, I'll keep re-explaining until it lands. So essentially what I realized back in 2020, just as COVID was kicking off, I call it, I like receive downloads. So what that means is, I guess, I believe that there is a higher logical, more intelligent aspect of me that has way more answers than I can possibly have in this current moment. It's almost like my ego / identity gives me what is possible for me to accept, but there's a higher intelligence that's giving me information. So what I received as like a download, just like you're downloading onto a computer program, right? A download. So I felt very much as if our businesses are energetic systems unto themselves. So you're an energetic system. You're designed in a certain way, right? And we'll go on to talk a bit about human design because that brings to life this point. But what if your business also had a human design? I know it's not human, but what if the business had an energetic blueprint that showed you its talents, its intentions, its visions, why it was here? What if your business has an energy? What if your business has a vibe? Again, I'll bring this to life. I worked in big ad agencies in my 30s. I was a business director. I did it for 10, 12 years. And the branding team would always come to me and be like, you know what, Jody? This brand has a vibe. It has a tone of voice. It has a personality. And I was like, at the time, what are you talking about? It's ridiculous. But I was reminded of that conversation recently when I remembered, well, actually, aren't we saying the same thing here in a way? Okay, I may be going at this conversation from a bit of a more spiritual place, energetic place, but really that's what they were saying. So here's the thing, to your founder and startup audience, what if we were open to the possibility that our business is its own thing? What if we personified our business? What if we went and did a virtual meeting with our business? And what if, just like you and I are sat opposite each other here, what if I was here as the startup founder? And what if I imagined and visualized that you were my business and I was having a business meeting? And what if I started to notice, like, okay, how's my business appearing on that chair? What does it look like? What do I think it feels like? What does it want to say to me? And what if I just started journaling it all out? And what if that exercise gave me a perspective of like, oh, I'm not or don't need to be emotionally entangled in the business. And that's a big one, because when you're emotionally entangled in your business, which to be honest, as a solopreneur, so many of us are, I'm not a solopreneur anymore, but like I used to be.
Yeah.
But your business is a different system, I promise you. It's got its own agenda. Yes, you're expressing it. You're being the human ambassador. You've got the legs and the arms that it doesn't have. You're the message. You've got to shout about it. But what if your business founders and startups, before they went into a networking event, what if they just took a few deep breaths? And what if they asked that their business could be there with them? What if they just had this conversation with their business that when they walked into the room, they were confident and they started to speak on behalf of the business? And what if that was just a big experiment just to try?
Love it. Haven't done so. So that would be, it's a great conversation. So I've got a couple of hours off tomorrow and I'm like, right, I'm going to have this conversation with my business. I've never done it. And I've been in business 20 years. So love that tip.
Yeah. So I'm just writing business system here to remind everybody to see their business as something different, to have a business meeting with their business.
Love that. Love it.
And they can even ask their business, what do you need? Like, what do you need me to say in this networking event? And that's a way where we start to bring a bit of the woo in, a bit of the magic in, and they can start to understand, oh my gosh, my business wants me to be really bold? What if I was 50% more bold? And in a way, it's like getting external permission from someone else. So you're not giving yourself permission. So you feel more inclined to do it. It's a very interesting process.
Love that. So from the energetic efficiencies, then how can we be more energetically efficient? Is it the same thing as being more productive?
I asked the question, how can we collapse the time it takes to get the results?
Love that when you said that earlier.
Chills, right? How can we collapse the time it takes to get the results? I feel that there is this movement. Everyone's talking about productivity, right? But it's still quite an overwhelming conversation because people still get overwhelmed with everything that's going on. So energetic efficiency is understanding how to discern the difference between these opportunities that are coming our way all the time. It's understanding who we are at our core, how much power we yield, and who we're really meant to be serving. And it's a difficult conversation for business startups and founders because the mentality when you're a startup is like, just speak to everybody and then it's going to just
say yes.
Point.
Yeah.
That's exhausting for me. That's an exhausting strategy. I've been there, done that, right? But from the get-go, there's nothing to say that you as a startup or founder cannot start to just get really clear on, okay, if I was really honest with myself, like who lights me up the most to serve? Like if I was really honest and if I forgot about all the conversations in my peer groups that are telling me to just to serve everybody, if I was really, really boundaried about this, who would I be speaking to from the get-go? And what that does is it energetically starts to target the right person. It starts to weed out the people that you're not meant to mingle with. And it's sort of like a bit of a bullseye scenario. I'm not saying that you're not going to attract in a few different things to say no to at the beginning. Just to clarify further, are you sure? Are you sure this is who you're meant to be serving? And I'm not going to either say to you, this is going to be an easy ride, because if you're a startup / founder and you want to serve someone who's operating at like 10, 20 million, like in one of my programs, you have to level up to meet that person, to meet that client where they're at, right? So energetic efficiency is really understanding who you are, how you can make decisions effectively. And I have a tool for that, which I'll mention at some point, how you can, really filter out what is for you, what's not meant for you from the get-go, and how you can use some creation. Can we say manifestation? What does manifestation mean? It means you're creating, right? So can we use some creation tactics to actually start to put us on the path of highest alignment from the get-go? And this to me is energy efficiency. And it's also, you have to look at yourself and be like, okay, this is uncomfortable for me. I'm someone who says yes to everything. I love helping everyone. This is not comfortable for me, but it's just sort of trusting the process. So yeah.
Love that. So from there, then, we've got a bit of confidence going into the room. I think that the way that you explained it, something that I've noticed even just in the voice notes that we've had back and forth before you came in here, you've got a wonderful way to articulate what I think could be quite complex to people, but how do you simplify it? And you did that beautifully in the voice note, where I got to understand, actually, this is what we could talk about and how we ended up in today's kind of practical session with everyone. So we've got the idea of how to be a little bit more confident when you walk into the room, have the conversation with your business, not just you. Then look at this creation piece, whether you call it manifestation, but you got to get clear on what it is that you want. And I think the kind of people that I'm working with want to build their brand, they want to build their visibility, they want to speak more, they want to serve more, they want to impact more. So they've got to be having these uncomfortable questions, because the one thing that I notice with personal branding is it's not an overnight fix. Okay, we need time. But how do you collapse that time to get the results quicker so that you get the speaking event within 3 months or within 6 months, or whatever, you launch your website or whatever it is? So I love that. Once we've got clarity on that, kind of what's the next step? Is it more of understanding what you are through human design, or what would you say the next kind of step on from that would be?
I was hosting an event last night, actually, to women who are, I suppose, at the sort of 15 to 20K a month mark. And I talk about money as like a tangible indicator.
Is that dollars
of where
and
is.
or
It's actually
pounds?
pounds.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's say it's pounds or euros, right? And it's so interesting when you're at that level because, and I remember this, you are in this space where you've already achieved a lot. You're at a foundational level of success and you are sort of on a bit of a busy cycle to try and keep it going, right? And that brings up a lot of stuff to the surface because you're like, on the one hand, I should know more than I do, or let's say, I want to know more than I do, and I'm here, I've made it, this is amazing, but I don't have time to go to other events that are going to help me grow. Or I don't have time, I'm too busy, right? And so what we were talking about on the call last night is like, what does action look like? Because we talk about action all the time. We can go into a room, these founders and startups can go into a room and take 20 action steps and it not yield any results because they're not in alignment. They're not in alignment with their business. They're not in alignment with who they are. Their energy is not on point. So it's funny, it's playing back into the energy efficiency conversation. When you are so clear on your vibration and who you are, your energy, you can sort of deploy any strategy and it kind of works.
Okay.
Which is interesting and very controversial to say. And I'm sure lots of people are going to be like, that's not true, Jody. I've done 10 Instagram lives and they don't work, right? But it is true, right? Because these audiences, these people are waiting to come in. They're waiting for you to like almost cast the net out and just be like, okay, here's the bullseye, come in. And so we talked about action. We talked about aligned action, which you've probably heard as a phrase. But I'm like, okay, we're taking action, but you can... You know, I described at the beginning of this conversation about how I was hiding a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? We think we're doing all the things. We think we're like, I was basically running massive challenges for all these people. I was like, my ego was loving telling people, I'm seeing 50,000 people on a live. And that's not fair to myself. Obviously, I've achieved a lot. But like, you know, when you're like, okay, but is that a good thing? Is that really true in terms of who you're meant to be and what you're meant to be doing? That's a great result. And wow, look at the financials of this online course that's just converted, Jody. That's amazing. But are you actually meant to be doing that? Or is there something bigger and bolder that you're running away from? So the message here is, I guess, is what is it that you're really meant to be doing? Who are you really meant to be? Go, if you can get this relationship with your business and it feels good and you've pulled a seat up at the table for your business as well as you.
Love this vision. I love this visual analogy of it as well, because I think actually some people maybe do it the other way around. They think of their business, but they actually don't think of their personal brand.
Yeah.
So I think you could look at it both ways.
Yes.
Would that be right?
Yes,
and
yes,
how
yes.
you show up. Okay.
Absolutely. So where are you meant to be? Mm-hmm. Where are you meant to be leaning in? These conversations that you're likely meant to be leaning into take courage. You know, your fear is going to come up to the surface. What if I mess it up? What if people laugh at me when I talk about the energetics of business in a new market?
Yeah.
And so there's an element of bravery and resilience, which you have in spades.
Thank you.
Coming through. That is really, really important. But if you think about it in this way, if you're not willing to lean into these conversations and show yourself a bit more, then how are these audiences going to find you? You are literally not allowing them to get the service that they need.
I love that. And it's the service they need.
Service they need.
So I love that piece on serving, because I think I've said it in the past to clients, the more that you don't become visible, you're actually doing a disservice to someone out there who needs your product and needs your service. So I think from there, I'd love to touch a little bit, because we mentioned money at the start of that conversation and service, what you're delivering. Why do people feel so uncomfortable about it? Is it just a female thing? Money, talking about it? Giving their time for what they're doing?
So many different responses here. I think I have done So I have a certification company that my team run, and we basically take women through a process where they learn methodologies and techniques and tools to become money coaches, and then we certify them and we help them build money coaching businesses. Why are we doing this? We're doing this because we need to have a seismic shift on a global level when it comes to our relationship with money, especially women, which is exactly what you said. So I'm going to share an example to bring to life what I think could be one of the sources as to why we have this interesting relationship. Notice that I use the word interesting, relationship with money as women. So if I look back to my ancestors, for example, I have some very interesting ancestral dynamics going on in my lineage, for example. So on the one side, I have a farming family where the women didn't work and they were housewives. And if they did work, it was very hard graft in the fields, let's say. So they traded time, hours for money. And then on the other side, I have a lot of control around money from the women, from the females. I can always feel that on my mother's lineage, there was a lot of information about how some of the women had to control the money. I think this was in the Victorian times because some of their husbands used to gamble the money away. Right, so there's can you already see there's different topics playing out here?
Yeah, and how much your ancestry plays a role in how you're showing up
it's
now.
Huge.
That's it. That piece is.
It's huge.
We need to discuss this more.
It's huge. There's one module in my certification brand that is all about ancestral lineage work because it's so poignant and relevant here. So that's one of the answers I would give you. And what's interesting, according to epigenetics, which is essentially the information that we inherit from our ancestors through the genetic system, because of epigenetics, we activate certain, let's call them topics, just for simplicity's sake, in our surroundings. Right? So if you find yourself in a location or an environment that is conducive or supportive to ancestral topics, they will activate. So it's interesting. So I'm in my business right now. My husband is the CEO of our company. He had a very high-flying corporate job. He left that to work with me. So in a way, I'm the main leader of the money making, or have been. Now my team make money for me and on behalf of the business, and they have sales roles. So it's different now. But it took a lot for me to shift that because I was like, no, I'm the one that makes the money. This is how it is. My mother's lineage playing out. Wow. So it's super interesting. And then just on a societal level, I feel like there's just so much in our society that, is unconscious in terms of just bringing the awareness and the education piece to women. And it feels like it's only female business women, successful business women who know about money and investing and all that stuff. Why do they not teach this at school? Why do we not learn this at school? And that's not my challenge or problem to solve. That's not my purpose. But at least I can do something with this money coaching business and start to create a bit more of a legacy that way. Yeah. So that's what I would say about money. And I started to have this conversation publicly in 2015 in London, and I was running in-person workshops at Second Home co-working space, I remember now. And I was so afraid to say money out loud that I would just say, I'm running workshops on abundance, because I was, funnily enough, I was like happier saying the word abundance than I was money, which
what an interesting observation,
I
though.
know. And then I just started to weave money in, and then I realized in 2017, okay, there's a need here to create an online business. So I created a whole online brand called Magnificent Money that has been highly successful and is still there today. Yeah.
Love it. And one of the things I remember about really understanding honesty with your business friends is being open to talk about money and not feeling like it's a bad thing, or who are you? And I heard it on a podcast. This woman, I think maybe she was in the money mindset space, and she said it's our duty to tell others what we got for our book deal because we want them to get the same or more. And I always remember Mel Robbins said in her latest book that she nearly didn't get hired because she was the cheapest speaker at an event, and they were thinking, what's wrong with her? Because all the men had outpriced her. And I just think all the time, so why are we not having the conversations about it? Why are we so scared to? So I'm always very open with my clients, and anyone who asks, what would you charge for this, or that's what I've done. I'm not saying that's what you need to do, but that's what I've done.
I can answer the question that you just asked then in terms of why are we so afraid. So I think about it in this way, and I'm thinking about money in terms of, yes, your startups and founders, but perhaps people who've been in business a bit longer as well, let's say. So the way that I understand it is this: every level of revenue requires more of you. Okay. Right. So I was running a money challenge like 2 years ago, and information comes through as I'm teaching. And what came through was very interesting. And to this day, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's an amazing piece of insight. To receive more money, we have to be willing to receive more of ourselves. So what that means is, I believe that we have all the potential within us, actually. It's all within us. Everything's within us. Everything we want is within us. The millions, the multi-millions, the 9 figures, all of that is within us. It's all a frequency, an energy frequency, right? So we have to be willing to receive more of us to receive more money, because money's energy. It's an exchange. We need it. We need it because the business chomps on money, breakfast, lunch, dinner, right? So we need to keep bringing money in and not make a big deal about it or make it mean anything other than what it is. So if we think about the fact that we're here to receive more money, which means that we have to receive more of ourself, more of our presence, the bit that trips people up a little bit here is not necessarily that concept, because people are like, oh yeah, I get that. I get that when you explain it. But to receive more of yourself,
that's
Kelly,
the bit that what does that mean?
Is receiving all of you. So it's not possible for you to cherry pick what you can receive more of yourself, because we're a whole package, right? I'm sitting here across the table and I'm going to tell you, when I came here to Dubai a few days ago, I went through a big emotional process. I experienced my vulnerabilities. I experienced sadness, all the things that we usually run away from. I'm not afraid to feel these things, right? At all. So I know that the more of me opens up on the global stages, which is what's happening right now, I have to be willing to feel all of it.
So
everything.
That's it, the feeling everything, and not push it,
exactly.
and not push it away and go, well, no, I need to put that in a box and deal with it later.
1000%. So what we're really talking about here is emotional mastery. And emotional mastery has always been thought of as a very weak phrase, not necessarily by more conscious people, but and I don't mean that in an elitist way. I just mean that we think emotions are weak, right? But emotional intelligence. Google wrote a book in 2007 or 8, which was called Search Inside Yourself. And it was basically the reason why, when I first started my career back in 2013, I was able to get through the door and speak on global stages to Nike, Lululemon, Google, these big brands at the time, because they were picking up this book called Search Inside Yourself, which was a self-help book. And it talks about emotional intelligence. And so what we're talking about here is emotional mastery, and actually realizing that we are emotional creatures. We can't get away from that, unfortunately. There's no amount of getting stuck in logic and intelligence and rationalization that moves us away from this. In fact, we get more blocked. So we're the whole package.
So being open, not putting away, not thinking that's not for right now.
Yeah.
It's feeling all those
it in
feelings.
The moment.
Yeah, okay.
I could have a conversation with you about shame, and I could feel the shame while I'm speaking to you, and I'm not ashamed to feel the shame. It's part of my expression right now, and I'm not going to start crying, but I'm feeling it.
Do you think that's also down to the words that you're using to yourself as well, and in the moment?
Yeah.
And I guess the whole time, I guess the how we speak to ourselves, how we speak to other people.
Yeah.
I saw this very interesting thing, whereas I'd seen it before, that people had got 2 plants, and then if you say nice things to one plant and horrible things to another plant, the one that you've been saying, the plant dies. But they did this with a water bottle.
Yeah.
And then they said, but 70% of your body
Is
is made
water.
of water.
Yeah.
So the things that you say to yourself is having a direct impact.
100%. You're
So is that
programming
into it?
yourself.
The
You're
emotion.
programming yourself,
Yeah.
on a daily basis. And I wouldn't normally talk about shame in business. That was just a random example and a horrible word for most people to even contemplate. But what I'm saying is, what you're saying as well is like, let's just be who we are in real time and not be afraid to feel things as we're moving along.
But I nearly think that also goes back to what you were talking about with the energetic collapsing, because if you deal with it as you're going along, then you're being able to collapse the time in order to open up the opportunities
100%.
rather than wait to deal with that situation or predicament or whatever it is. And the money piece, I guess, comes into that element as well, because when you get more comfortable with talking about pricing is one of the things that I do with clients with their personal brand, valuing your worth and encouraging clients to value their worth. It's not for me to tell them how much they should charge, but guaranteed, I would say 99% of my clients, we end up increasing their prices because they're undervaluing themselves. And it's giving them that permission and the emotional courage that they can do that as well. And then what they feel when I get the message going, they just paid that, or that just happened, and you'll get that as well through the money programs.
The key word you just said there is value. I just want to have a little bit of a tiny value conversation, because value. So it's so interesting. A lot of people teach value in terms of like, just write down a big list of everything that you value about yourself. Yes, that's part of it. Yeah. But actually, it's an energetic realization. It's a shift. It's you like sort of sitting with yourself and really like connecting to you as a valuable human being, right? And a really good way of accelerating this, if what I just said is a little bit like, okay, can you start like, Kelly, I'm valuing this conversation with you so much. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm super grateful. I value this. I value all of the equipment here. I really value your book. Beautiful. I can't wait to read it. I value the experience that you've laid out for me, because I love this stuff as well. You see how I'm talking about value, 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 and making it a real key word in my vocabulary. And that starts to trigger our brain to recognize our own value from within. So that's a really easy way of doing this as well. I'm building our currency, which is like an exchange, like an energy exchange, So yeah, I just wanted to say that tiny little piece.
Love it. But energy is, I think I'd seen it somewhere, that energy is an invisible currency that people feel. And I think that is part of your brand.
100%.
I think that sometimes you don't even need to open your mouth, but people can feel the energy through your eyes, your smile, you're this, 100%. You're that. And I quite often do it when I'm, less so here, but certainly when I'm back home in Edinburgh, because you're wandering in the high street, for example, whereas here, it's less so in the mall. You don't really wander places here. You can just look at people and it's like, they smile differently. I don't know, maybe this is normal, but that energy thing.
100%. Human design is all about this.
Human
design is all about this. So I was chatting with Kelly before this interview about human design, and human design is basically how you understand how your energy interacts with other people's energy. So it's really good when you're building a team, because if you can imagine, like I've got a team of like 8, 9 at the moment, just in one business. Yeah. I understand everybody's human design. So I understand if they're in the right role. Are they fitting together in the right sub-teams? Yeah. Are they in the right productive space to support me as the founder, et cetera, et cetera? So I did a little human design for you before coming.
I love it.
Oh my gosh.
This is nearly like the 101 before you start business. Like everyone should get their human design
100%,
done so
100%.
They know. Because a lot of people go into what was it, like these insights and go and do these, where you fill out all these questions and they give you the report.
Psychometric testing,
all of
stuff
this.
like that.
Yes. And I know that corporates are very keen on doing those kind of things.
Yeah.
what you're bringing to the table with the human design is understand this, but it's giving you a much more relevant today way of showing up. Would that be a better
100%. And I really feel like this is the future, definitely, of psychometric testing. Let's see.
Well, you are a futurist.
So human design is not my system at all. And it's not necessarily a lot of what I do, but for clients coming in, it's often the first touch point because it's tangible in a way. So on my website, I have a couple of different human design tools where you can actually go there and you can enter your details and you can understand what is your human design energy type and how does it relate to your business and how does it help you market yourself, sell to clients, offer what it is you want to offer, operate in the way you want to operate in, finances, mindset, energy, let's say. So I'm a projector in human design, and that basically means that I'm here to amplify conversations, to amplify client success, to see the unseen. So I'm here to see what people don't see, right? Now, I found out Kelly's also a projector, which would make sense how we have this connection. Yeah. And our mutual friend Tash is also a projector.
Love it. Who's also one of my best friends here. We're in business together, so it does 100%. Make sense.
Projectors are the new leaders of the planet. Oh. Wow. Yeah. Except we are not here to do it in a forceful way at all. We are actually here to do it in a more feminine way. And for some people listening, that could feel disempowering, but please don't let it be disempowering. You know, to do it in a feminine way is basically meaning that we're rising in our feminine power right now. I'm laughing because I had lunch with a beautiful Iranian businesswoman here the other day, and she's like, women are far more of superior race to men. I've just known that my whole life. And it was just so funny.
Her lineage, maybe that's come from her ancestors, and something different.
That's so interesting that you say. So you're a projector 5-1, and 5-1, they're the numbers in your profile. So in human design, we have an energy type, right? There are 5. You're a projector like me.
What are the other ones?
Manifester, manifesting generator, and a reflector. Ah. Yes. So, whenever you use any tools on the website, it will explain everything for you. So your profile is a 5-1, and I love this. A profile is like the uniform that you wear in the world. Right. So I can just, when you said, you used to be an air hostess, I'm like, I can so imagine that because you're just vibrant. You are radiant. I bet the Emirates took one look at you and was like, her, definitely. Right. You are just like, you are definitely that and so much more. But you're a 5-1. So essentially the first number, you're going to love this. The first number is the 5. The first number represents how you see yourself. Right. Okay. The second number is the 1, and that represents how others see you, right? So the 5 is the profile of the leader. Mm-hmm. And the 1 is the profile of the person that is a perfectionist, the one that wants to get everything correct and right before you make a move. Now, this is the second number, so there'll be a little bit of like vulnerability around this insofar as it might trip you up, insofar as I need to make sure I'm really ready for this, otherwise I can't go there. Now, you feel like you've actually transformed a lot of that energy, but you might have experienced it in your earlier years in some way. Or I don't feel ready to go for this next level or something like that. It's very interesting. You're a projector, you're a 5-1, you're an emotional projector, and me too. Okay. So what that means is your way of making decisions is all about using your, what we call emotional authority, and it's quite straightforward. What it means is you wait until you are feeling very emotionally neutral before going for it.
That's true, yeah.
Because sometimes you'll wake up and you're like, this is the worst day ever. Oh my gosh, what's going on? And actually, there's nothing really wrong. It's just that you're having an experience of an emotional wave, which is like the weather. But it doesn't mean anything's wrong with your life. So when you understand this, it's just like, it's a cloud, it's a rain cloud. It's just raining on me.
Oh my God, I had one of those recently. Okay. And I'm like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, so never make it mean anything about you.
Interesting. And I was like, but I went to bed early. I ate the right food. Like, I'm trying to find what was the one thing that I can pinpoint to go, so I don't have that tomorrow. Because I genuinely wake up a very happy, contented person, and that's early, like 4:30 in the morning. But yeah, recently I was like, oh, I feel like I've been out all night. And I definitely hadn't.
Yeah. So wait for the clouds to pass. Wait until you're emotionally neutral, which is, it also means don't be absolutely high and say yes to things when you're just like so joyful, oh my God, because you're going to often regret saying yes to it in a couple of days' time. That's how it works. So, you know, if you said to me, Jody, I want to interview for the podcast, usually I would say, give me a couple of days to sit with this. Or even just a day, or maybe it's 3 hours. Like, I don't need to respond to you straight away because I need to understand, like, is this actually right for me and aligned for me?
Wow. So the first time ever, I did this last week for a speaking event. I've never done it. And I just said, can you give me a couple of days? My head's really full. I was prepping for TEDx. I had family out. Like, there was so much. And I've never done that before.
Yeah, there you go.
Never.
There you
but
go.
I love that you've highlighted that and nearly given me permission that is also a really good strategy to deal with your kind of emotional piece.
Just linking it into energy efficiency here because it does. There are 8 different authorities like emotional is just one of them. There are 8 different depending on the energy types. So all the stuff on my website takes people through that. But what's interesting is it creates efficiency in the way that you make decisions instantly. And you know what's interesting, Kelly, is like when I first learned that I could sit on things, it triggered me because I was like, I respond straight away.
Yeah, am I not efficient enough? Why can't I make a
they
decision? Yeah.
But actually, weirdly, because we're designed that way, no one says anything. No one said, even like the most incredible opportunities, if you say, actually, let me sit with this.
You know, I was clear on as long as you've responded and said, you know, I've received, let me think about it.
And it's weird. What I found is like when something triggers me or someone says something or whatever, and I'm just like, oh, I really want to go back and say something. And I know what I need to say. I need to make this person see what they're doing, which is classic projector because we can see everything. We can see the truth straight away. Yeah. If I sleep on it for a few days, the natural response just comes to me and I'm like, oh, that's a far better, calmer response, actually.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's so good. One of the things I find about energy, and it's been a real learning piece, not just from a business capacity, but I've always known I feel other people's energy. I get a lot when I'm around it. And when people are low energy, I find it quite tough. Yes. And when my husband and I first started living together, he's definitely on the lower energy.
Yeah.
And I found it really hard, because I'm like, you bring me down. And he was saying, but you've got to learn to find a way to manage it. And I have, but he was like, you've got to find a way to let it not bother you. But I think that's quite flippant to say because you do absorb other people's energy. What would you say to that?
What would I say in response to that personal question?
Yes.
Okay, I'll say that. So you are such a vibrant, light, radiant being, and it's amazing to feel your energy, but you'll also have the polarity of that going on. So you also will have a heavy part of you. Yeah. Just like I have a heavy part of me.
That's a good observation.
I don't like to feel it at all.
Yeah.
So sometimes in the past, I've attracted people into my life. You know, my husband's sort of similar. He's very logical, very rational. I'm very emotional, very intuitive, right? And it's different. But I need him because he grounds me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just going to fly away sometimes.
Very good observation.
I need to feel heaviness because actually, who's to say that heaviness isn't a symbol that we are in the body? And in a weird way, I think being projectors, we are quite flighty. We're often out of the body, right?
Yeah.
We don't necessarily want to feel heavy in our body. We're just like, no. Thank you. I'm just like, I like being fairy. I just want to float around. It's actually good. And just one thing on your human design, and I could talk to you for 10 more hours, but I know we don't have that. But you have, and I have too, which is why I love this. We both have, like, you know, like the chakra system, you know, like you've got all these chakras in like different cultures, right? So in human design, you've got the energy centers. You've got 9 of them. The root, which is where your hips and pelvis are, just a bit further down. From that energy center comes action-taking energy, right? Action, action, action. You have a defined root center. All that means is like, it's always on. You're always taking action, and I am the same.
Yes.
And sometimes it drives me crazy because I'm just like, give me a rest, give me a break, especially being here in Dubai. So much is being thrown my way. I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't been this busy for like a year. Oh my God, I need to, there's a constant voice from that energy center, Kelly, pushing you forwards, telling you to take action all the time. But where it gets tricky is, that's great. And I love that. I'd way rather have that than the opposite, which is like, do I take action now? Do I not? Do I take action now? Do I not? I'd way rather have a constant pulsation. But you have to be clear, is this the right moment to take action, or do I need to wait till I'm emotionally neutral?
I'm back to the let me sit on it. I've noticed it, and maybe that's also to do with the energetic feeling that alcohol dilutes, is that I've had even more ideas. So I've been on an alcohol-free journey, and I've always taken action, and I've always been quite clear. Well, so I thought, and I have even more clarity, even more ideas, even more things that I want to do. And is that because alcohol is a suppressive, or I don't know what the word is, where it suppresses emotions or feelings that then energy can't come out? So then
it's really interesting. Alcohol, I don't really drink very much either. And when I do, it's very high quality, whatever, locally sourced normally. Alcohol, it's about the relationship you have with alcohol. I don't think alcohol does really anything. I could sit here and say to you, it disconnects you from your channel creatively. I don't believe it does, actually. But your point is very good, because when you're clear and clean, alcohol's a toxin, ultimately. It messes with your biochemistry, right? It scrambles the signals so you feel drunk. That's what it does. Without that, of course, you're going to be more creatively open. And it's incredible to know that you know what it's like to be flowing with ideas. But I'll give you a little tip. What you can do is, when an idea comes through, imagine, this is going to sound really odd, but like, let's see. Imagine pushing it down into the root center. Like, just if there's an idea in your head and you can't sleep because you need to like figure it out, push it down to the root center and just like hold it there like a pressure cooker. Let it build, forget about it, revisit it in a week's time, put it on your Trello board, whatever, so you don't forget. But just put it there. Now, the root center is a pressure energy center, so it builds and builds and builds and builds and builds the pressure. It grows an idea without you needing to figure it out with your mind. So then when you're feeling emotionally calm and neutral, revisit it. Ask the idea, is this the right time to bring you forwards? What's one action I can take today? And then I'm just going to put it back into the root center.
They're two really good questions. They need to go on my notes to go when you're feeling that. Like, I really do feel that we could keep talking about this for hours. Honestly, I love it, because I feel that so much of this is related, obviously, to you, but your brand and how you show up. So thank you so much for your time, your energy, your knowledge. How can people find more about you and do the things that you were suggesting on your website?
Yes, well, Instagram is my most active platform right now. It's at Jody Shield. That's JODYSHIELD. My website is jodyshield.co.uk. The other one is Magnificent Money, which is magnificentmoney.co.uk. And I would say that they are the portals to find me. On the Jody Shield website, there are 2 human design tools. There is one called the Business Blueprint, which is where you can enter your information, get the energy type that you are applied to your business. And then there's another one called Your Authority. And that is really about you making decisions in the most effective way, like we discussed with the emotional authority.
I love it. And I have one question, and I haven't asked this before. If we could help you, my listeners, my watchers, myself, with one thing, what would it be?
The word is encouragement. And I would never, ever say that out loud or say that I would need that. And I would say like encouragement on Instagram, which is something I would never say out loud, but there we go.
Love it. And I love the honesty. And for those that are watching and listening, we will encourage you all the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly.
So good.